right, welcome back to From 8 Arbitration. And today we're going to get into the first episode of the Memphis Arbitration. I've been talking about it for several weeks, and I'm going to break it down into about 4 or 5 episodes. It'll be the testimony during the arbitration. If y'all remember, I talked about the joint statement case out of Memphis where the arbitrator removed the district manager and 3 other managers. And this entire case was audio taped by management, by labor, because they were going to do a brief. And so they have to give me a copy of that. And so what you're going to hear is the second day of testimony. The first day was all Jason Ashley for us. That was the entire day. And he did a fantastic job. The second day, we came back about a month later, and the second day is all management. You're going to hear direct questioning from their advocate and then cross examination from me. The arbitrator loves to talk. He's brand new, so he was really wanting to know things, and he would stop, the hearing and ask a lot of questions. You're going to hear that. I've edited out the names as best as I could. The episode today, we're going to just deal with the postal inspector. He was the very first witness for management. And y'all know how I feel about postal inspectors, but I'll talk about that in just a second before I get into it. But we'll have about 4 or 5 episodes of that, all right? And that way y'all can get into an arbitration if you've never been in one and kind of experience that. I think some may find it boring, some may find it very interesting, but we're going to put it up anyway. A couple of things before we get into that. Your hip training. Your hip training is being falsified again. I talked about this last week, and a lot of people have sent me screenshots where their hip training is being falsified. Had a couple of B team members send me theirs where they were done the training on a Saturday, and obviously they don't work on Saturday, but it's being done again. And so they've asked for all the hip cases to be sent interpretive. Labor has, and here we are. It didn't get a ruling on an interpretive issue, and they're falsifying the hip training again. And I just think we should have taken a harder stance on that. Y'all know how I feel about that. Not everybody agrees with me, and that's good. I'm completely on one side. I don't care about management at all, uh, none. And I'm a completely hardliner when it comes to the union and carriers. And so a lot of people don't agree with me. I just I want to read this to you because I thought it was funny. Somebody sent it to me. I didn't see it, and somebody sent a screenshot to me, and this is what it said. And we've been having a good time with it. I put it up on From 8 Arbitration, the Facebook page, and here's what the screenshot said. And this is what they put on the National Association of Letter Carriers, their Facebook page. This guy says, does everyone else think that Corey Walton is as whiny as my office does? And this person commented below. He said, yeah, he's a hypocritical puss. So I'm going to take it that these two individuals don't care for my podcast. But I thought that was funny. As this guy that sent me the screenshot, he said, hey, man, I don't think that everybody agrees with you. And I said, I'm going to say you're right. But does everyone else think that Corey Walton is as whiny as my office does? All I can tell you, my friend, is I'm glad you're listening. I'm like that car wreck. You don't want to look at it, but you just got to. That's me. You don't want to listen to me, but damn it, you just got to see what I got to say. And so that's fine, whether you like me or not. As long as you're listening, that's good. And my man says, yeah, he's a hypocritical puss. That's terrible. But anyway, we had a lot of good comments. The funniest comment was this one, though. And if you know my mother, you know, she's 80 something years old and she would still whip my ass. She still thinks I'm 10 and in Sunday school. And so this guy, he says, Corey, I really do enjoy your podcast and its content. I just wish you would stop using the cuss words. And a lot of people feel that way. And I feel that way. I don't like cussing. I don't. And but I get on here and And I get agitated about shit, and fuck, the next thing you know, I'm fucking cussing all the time. But I don't want to cuss. It just fucking comes out sometimes. But anyway, this dude says, Corey, I really do enjoy your podcast and its content. I just wish you would stop using the cuss words. Well, my mom comes in because she follows from 8 Arbitration. She puts the dude's name with a question mark. Well, he ain't putting two and two together. My name's Corey Walton, and hers is Doris Walton. He ain't putting two and two together, so my man comes back even stronger. Says my mom's name. Why the question mark? Don't you listen to the podcast? He's always using the F word in some form or other. Like I said, I like the podcast and the content he puts out there. I just get a bit annoyed when he starts with the F word. I'm like, dadgum, dude, you're burying me. And so I just came back and I said, he's kidding, Mom. Okay, he don't know my mother. She would still come over here and beat my ass at 80 something years old. Hell, I'm 54. But I just thought, I was like, man, my dude is burying me right here. You gotta use your use your head for something other than put a hat on, baby. You gotta put those two names together and realize you're burying me. Because the only three people I'm scared of: my mom, my dad, and God. But I thought that was funny. But I forgive you, my man. You didn't know. So, yeah. He's trying to get me killed. But anyway, not everybody likes me. Not everybody agrees with me. And that's wonderful. If everybody's like me, we'd be in trouble, I guess. I'm a hard liner, man. I'm a hard liner. I'm for the city letter carrier, and I don't care about anything else. Nothing. Uh, People question how I can represent people I do. I'm for the city letter carrier, period. I don't care about jack shit other than that. And like I always said, I don't care what you've done. I'm going to be there for you. And that's just how I am. On from 8 Arbitration, the Reddit page, people took exception. A few people took exception. We talking about the B team's making more. You know, they give shit decisions. They don't need to make any more money. My opinion is my opinion, and your opinion is yours. And that's like I always say, that's why they make vanilla and chocolate ice cream, because not everybody wants vanilla. You know, somebody had to come up with some other flavors because not everybody feels the same or thinks the same. I'll say this: when you have positions of importance with this union, you better give them some kind of motivation to do that. I know there are B teams out there. There's one in particular I see all the time that just give straight shit decisions. And we pray that our cases don't get sent there because they just give shit decisions. And I know a lot of B teams, a lot of people have issues with B teams. You've heard me on here with issues about the B team. And but again, it all comes back to the business agent's office. If they would take a hard line on positions, all that would be corrected. When I said that the national president needs to bring all the B teams up there and sit down with them and say, this is what we're going to do. This is what I want to see. All that stuff will be corrected. It's very easily correctable. And if they don't do that, then you get rid of them. But you've got to pay them more money. He was like, why would we pay them a penny more? I think you need to pay them substantially more. Like I said in the episode last week, I don't think it needs to be pennies. I think it needs to be substantial. But you need to tell them what you want. And that's the problem that we have. There's a miscommunication at that level. The business agent's office are pieces of shit in a lot of these areas. And so when you have that, you get B team decisions that don't recognize issues. A lot of people send me decisions where they have an issue of an Article 15 noncompliance. The B team will pay the noncompliance, won't say anything about the violation, about Article 15, no cease and desist, won't even recognize Article 15, or they'll have discipline as well as an Article 17 and 31 violation. Well, they'll remove the discipline, but there's nothing about the 17 and 31 violation. I still have a 17 and 31 violation. They didn't give me information. So we need to address that as well. So I agree with all of that. I think that if I send up 5 issues, every issue should be addressed. Every single one of them should be addressed. Whether you don't agree with it or not, Whether you say that I didn't support it or not, if I send up 5 issues, all 5 issues should be addressed. That's the way I feel because I made those an issue. And we don't address them, you don't educate me. And I think the B team decisions are meant to educate us. I remember when JB first started, when we were talking about grievances, and he'd say, "What do you think about that?" And I say, "Man, I don't know. Send it up and let's be educated about it." And so we need to be educated with B team decisions. They set precedent. They're very important. And so I understand those people that say, "Man, they don't need any money." I understand your position. I don't agree with it at all. I completely support them making substantially more money because it appalls me that I sit across the desk from somebody making substantially more than me. It belittles me, and I hate to think of that. And the position is just too damn important. And so, if you're not on Reddit, get on Reddit, the From Eight Arbitration Reddit page. There's a lot of great stuff going on there, man. A lot of great stuff. If you go to from8arbitration.com, it'll prompt you to that Reddit page. All right. And get on there. There's a lot of great stuff, a lot of great conversations, a lot of different opinions and ideas. And I love all of that. I respect all of that. I truly do. But I just have my opinion. And I think that it's just too damn important for us to go in there and be humiliated by sitting across from somebody making substantially more. That's just how I feel. Discord as well. Get on there. Again, go to from8arbitration.com and get on Discord. There's great minds on Discord, a lot of great minds on Discord. They're talking about stuff all the time, and they got very good channels on there as well. Off topic, got grievance starters and things like that. And so Discord is a very good resource. Reddit is too. And so get on both of those things. But back to HIP, it's being falsified still. Get on your HIP training, and it'll show that it's being falsified. And I don't know what we're going to do with it. I mean, we grieved the shit out of it this last time, and so labor finally sends it up interpretive. We have no position from national on it. There's nothing from the business agent's office on most of them. I told you some of them fight it, but it's still being falsified. I gave that episode last week, talk about your hip being falsified. All week long, people were sending me screenshots where their hip training was being falsified. So I don't know what you do. If you get with your business agents, some of them, they're too busy getting drunk, getting high to worry about it. But so I don't know where we go with it, honestly. We grieved the hell out of it last time. No position from national. But I just keep on grieving. Fuck it. Keep on grieving, sending it up, let them deal with it. But, management got away with a big one there. A lot of items being sent to me that I'm going to address, that people ask me to address, and I'm going to do it. Here's one of them. And he says, my name is so-and-so, president of this branch. I would like to propose an agenda item for the COP. I'm concerned with the use of the interpretive step to effectively stall the grievance procedure. Our local branch filed a grievance for scanners recording incorrect time clock entries into tax. In this grievance, we provided a video of a carrier clocking in for the day and the corresponding incorrect time clock entry, which recorded the time as 1 unit later than it actually occurred. This is indisputable theft of wages from letter carriers, and yet it has vanished into the interpretive vault. Similarly, grievances filed across the country on the falsification of heat stress training have been redirected to an interpretive ruling at some point in the future. These grievances have been filed to address safety training for letter carriers, and the failure to reach a ruling could result in injury or the death to our brothers and sisters. This is not acceptable. The presidents of the NELC need to stand up united to demand accountability from our national team on how long these interpretive rulings will delay the adjudication of our grievances being held at this level. Thank you. And I love that. I absolutely love that. We need accountability. We have got to get accountability from both sides. Now, these interpretive issues just going into this well of nothingness. And to be heard from. I mean, you're talking about rural city disputes. Where in the hell is that at? But I like this a lot. And so I appreciated this gentleman sending it to me. I really like that. Here's another one. This person sent me this. It says, our vice president presented the attached resolution proposal to our executive board on 2/7/2024. Now, all these will be up on from8arbitration.com, okay? Because I think Jeremy's going to keep a running tab on these things. Our board recommended support of the resolution, and it was further presented to our branch membership on 2/14/2024. The motion to support this resolution passed unanimously at our membership meeting and will be recorded in our membership meeting minutes. Please let us know if there's any additional information needed and if any further action on our part is needed at this time. And here it is, opening, bargaining, and contract campaign resolution. Whereas NALC national contract negotiations are a time when NALC members are most able to shape the direction of our union, the methods we use to fight our demands, and set the priorities we fight to improve the lives of letter carriers. Whereas the NALC's power in the fight for a strong contract is increased when the union involves and mobilizes its members and engages its customers, the American public, about the biggest issues facing letter carriers. The broader public can sympathize with our issues, including overwork and a rising cost of living while wages have stagnated, because they are fighting the same problems in their workplace. Whereas having an active rank and file ensures the long-term viability of our proudly democratic union by creating new leaders and activists nationwide. Whereas other unions like the United Auto Workers, Teamsters, and Writers Guild of America have successfully conducted visible contract campaigns involving large numbers of members and the public to strengthen their negotiated position and make gains in pay, benefits, working conditions, and workplace dignity. Whereas many unions issue frequent bargaining updates with side-by-side comparisons of union and management proposals in order to increase transparency, inform, agitate, and mobilize their members and the public. Therefore, be it resolved that NALC Branch 2200 calls to on the national NALC to 1. Organize an active, vibrant contract campaign that involves and mobilizes members and the public in stations and in the street throughout the country to help us achieve the strongest possible contract at the bargaining table. 2. Hold rallies involving every branch leading up to the formal start of negotiations, highlighted our main demands, and throughout a contract campaign when necessary, activating the membership at certain key points in negotiations. 3. Post frequent side-by-side bargaining updates of contract negotiations on the website and in NALC bulletins. And so there's you another one on the open bargaining and contract campaign resolution, talking about Tyler Vassar in Minneapolis, the things that they're doing. So that's gaining steam. That's gaining momentum. We've had several of those, right? So that's great stuff. So those are a few things that are coming through, and I love all of them. I love all of them. And so you keep sending me those, and I'll keep reading them, all right, and educating the public out there, the city letter carriers, as far as what's coming down, what to expect, all right? Here's another thing that was sent to me, and listen, our office times, stationary events, load times, those, I told you those things are roaring back. Man, they are coming back strong, and there's no doubt that this is an initiative from headquarters, sending these things down. They are coming back stronger than ever, and our business agents should have equipped y'all for this stuff. I'm getting hundreds of these screenshots a week where people are talking about things that we've talked about on here. But this person said they're pushing something called loading observations lately. Last year, they would notify us with 24-hour notice. Starting this year, we have had a week of the supervisor just coming out and watching individuals load, filling out their forms, and not saying anything at all before they do this. What should I tack on with grievances to put an end to this bullshit? And they kept talking about the 22-minute load time, being pushed about the 22-minute load time. Now, look, as far as them coming out watching you loading, The 134 of the M39 is clear. It says to expect to be supervised on the street daily. There's nothing we can do about that. There's nothing we can do about that because it talks about supervising on the street is just as important as supervising in the office. All right. So if we're going to hold them to 134 as far as covert and spying, they're going to hold us to the fact that they can come out and watch us on the street. And loading is a street function, but I would ask for the 4584. If they're going to continue to come out there, you know what they're doing. They're trying to bully us in a certain way as far as these load times. A lot of messages coming to me about these 22-minute load times. What do we do about it? What do we do about it? There is no such thing as a 22-minute load time. Again, they've bastardized these memos and taken that 22-minute parameter and are trying to say that it's a standard. And so we will grieve those things. Okay. The stationary events is roaring back and big time. I've done several episodes on how to defeat that. But again, we've had no direction from our business agents. And I read you that thing where the president wrote that letter saying, hey, that's just an inconvenience. So we're going to have to address that here locally. We're going to have to get together locally and attack that locally. All right. I'll educate you as much as I can on how to defeat it. I'll continue to bring you sites. We'll continue to have grievance starters on it. Locally, we don't agree with the president. Nationally, we just don't. He's not down here, so he doesn't understand the frustration. He hears it. He'll tell you he's listening to it, but he don't get it because he wasn't down here. But locally, we'll continue to address it. All right. And so I just don't agree with it. I don't believe you can do it. If you're dealing with stationary events, it's a street function because you're dealing with something I'm doing on the street, and that means you're going to treat me like I'm on the street. And 134 tells you what you're going to do as far as street observations. And so that they can say, well, we're not observing you. You are. That's exactly what you're doing. If you're dealing with anything on the street, it needs to be dealt with in accordance with 134 of the M39 handbook. The hour office times, I found the stuff that I was going to talk to y'all about. What I may do is get Jeremy to put JB's grievance on from arbitration.com. I'm going to do that. I'll do that. It'll be on this episode. All right. I'll send it to Jeremy. It's JB's grievance on the hour office time here from Nashville. And it's amazing. It's the guy's first class, I tell you. And so you can get the contractual language out of it. I don't know if it may have the request for information. I'll make sure it does. And that way you can request things for the hour office time. And we've dealt with that before on this episode, on one of these episodes. And so do that. I'm going to put that up, have Jeremy put that up, our office time. But then I'll get into it after these Memphis cases, okay? We'll deal with that because all these things are coming back stronger than ever. And we're going to keep fighting them. We're going to battle these motherfuckers all the time. And that's a promise from me to you. We will battle them daily. When we get a stronger union back, these things will be a lot easier because we'll educate you more. A lot of these hot topics will continually give you information on how to defeat it constantly. And I'm talking about every station. If you got one carrier or 100 carriers, we're going to make sure you're educated when we get this new union in here, okay? And we're not going to have carriers out there not knowing what to do. And there's a lot of them that don't have a clue what to do right now, and it's not their fault. And it's our fault as the NELC. It's our fault. Business agents' faults. Too busy getting fat on wine, and they're not out there educating their people like they should be. And it's upsetting at best. All right, let's get into this Memphis case. And I remember I did the episode about it, talking about how difficult it was because it was a very difficult, touchy subject. The CCA targeted this manager, the supervisor. The supervisor they had targeted left and went out on a route to help a carrier. While he was gone, the CCA comes in looking for him. And he walks into an office and he shoots and kills the manager and supervisor and then walks out and takes his own life. So the union goes in force down there into Memphis, and we're going to address the environment that's being created. Management wanted to make it all about the shooting, saying, hey, nothing happened within 14 days. We address all these managers, and they try to get the arbitrator to believe that this case should be just about the shooting. And we were saying, no, it's about the environment that was created that led to it. You know, the hostility that has lived in Memphis since the late 90s when we had an arbitration case way back then. This arbitrator is new. He's never dealt with a joint statement before, joint statement case. And so he asks a lot of questions. He stops us a lot, and you'll hear that. I edited this out. It's 7 hours long, all the testimony. What you're going to hear is about 40 minutes of the postal inspector, okay? But I cut out about 52 minutes at the beginning, and it's all the arbitrator talking to us, the advocates and the TAs. And he talks about the struggle he's having with this case, and he's imploring us to settle. Like I said, Jason actually had done his testimony, amazing as always. And so we had about a month. We come back, and this is the second day of it. Well, during that month, the arbitrator is reading the case file, and that's what he's telling us. He said, I looked at this case file. He said, it's too important to mess up. You know, we've got to get this right. He said, I'm going to implore y'all to settle, to get together, to continue to talk, never stop talking. He said, if I spend however long on this decision and I'm about to send it out and I'm 5 minutes from sending it out and y'all call me and say y'all have settled, he said, I will rejoice. He said, because this is going to be a tough decision. So what you're going to hear is the postal inspector's testimony. Y'all know how I feel about the postal inspectors. I think they're dishonest. Their decisions always sway towards management's side. They will never give us a fair shake. This case is a perfect example of that. Okay. There's a 4-page report, and I took exception to it, and you'll hear me take exception to it. Management leads a lot. Now, as an advocate, you got to know when to object and when not to object. We got a new arbitrator. He's trying to learn things. He's very skilled at this stuff. He has a lot of lingo, you'll hear him say. One of the biggest issues are postal inspectors are well respected in arbitration, and a lot of people just leave them alone. I'm not like that. But the fact that they're professional investigators, arbitrators will call them experts at investigating. You will hear this arbitrator say that. He tells them he's an expert, even though he don't know this guy. But he deems him an expert. And so we have an uphill climb. But you'll hear me try to dissect this report. And they keep talking about another report. And you're going to hear me take exception to that, object a lot. And so, but what I'm doing is I'm trying to bait this inspector and management into producing this other report. We've asked for this report. And they continue to say, we don't have it. We don't have it. But now they're going to try to address it in arbitration. So I'm trying to bait them into producing this report. And you'll hear the advocate finally say, let's just get the report. And so I know I've got them. And listen to this postal inspector backtrack about this report when advocate for management says that. He started talking about, well, it hadn't been redacted, blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. And you can see he starts backtracking, man. He's moonwalking back across that stage like Michael Jackson, trying to get away from this report that they continue to say that they have. They talk about the FBI's involved. I take exception to that. You're going to hear all this stuff. There's a lot of editing. I've done a lot of editing. Management takes about 2 or 3 minutes in between questions. I've edited all that out so it looks like he's right on top of it, but there's huge segments of time in between management's questions. He's flipping through this case file, which was massive. You'll see that when I'm an advocate, when I get a case file, I'll go over every single word. Every single word. And if I have a question about one word of an 1,100-page file, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to address it. You'll see me do that with this postal inspector, okay, about certain words. Also, as an advocate, I'm setting up other witnesses based off of witnesses, if that makes sense. I'm going to ask this guy questions, trying to set up witnesses that they have later. And you'll see as I put these episodes up how that unfolds. And then you'll see I'll read the decision again at the very end, and you'll hear my closing. All right. And so here we go. It's the postal inspectors coming in there testifying as to his report. And then I'll come in on the other side of it, and then we'll talk about it a little bit on there. Okay. So here it is. Day 2, Memphis JSOV case. First witness for management, the postal inspector. So here it is.
Sir, do you remember?
Yes. Gregory. Correct.
What is your title?
Postal inspector.
Do you have an office that you're out of?
Yeah, I'm out of the Memphis field office.
The parties have asked that all the witnesses be sworn.
Okay.
It's not a question of your, truthfulness and veracity of your statements, but they just want everybody to be sworn. So I'll do that at this time. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Good morning, Gray. Can you just give us a little bit of background about your experience with how you got into Postal, how long you've been in Postal Service, and anything, maybe some recent stuff before that?
I've been a postal inspector for 16 years. Prior to becoming a postal inspector, I was a police officer with the Memphis Police Department for 5 years.
Okay.
Prior to that, I was a special agent for the state of Tennessee, Tennessee Department of Revenue.
Okay. Appreciate that, and appreciate your service. I'd like to take you on, you have a large case file in there, and the pages are numbered in the lower right. If you can go to and pull out pages 1040 to 1044. Okay. And do you recognize this document, Greg?
Yes.
Can you explain to the arbitrator what this is?
This is the assault threat specialty report. This is a report that we are required to complete every time there is an incident involving what we call workplace violence, a WPV case.
Okay. And are you the author of this report?
Yes.
Okay. And it's only a couple pages long, and I'm not going to have you read it, but as we go through this, I'd just like to maybe talk about a couple aspects of it. I guess turn to the next page, which leads you to, what is this report in summary of?
This is a report regarding the double homicide and suicide that occurred at East Lamar Carrier Annex on October 12th of last year.
Okay. And how did you get notified of this incident?
So I received a text message, my boss, inspector, sent out a mass text message to all the inspectors that work out of the Memphis field office on October 12th of last year at approximately 1:16. And in his text message, he told us that we need to respond to the East Lamar Carrier Annex because he described it as an active shooter incident.
Okay.
So that's how we received notification and responded to it.
Okay. Were you the first inspector on scene?
Yes.
Were you the first law enforcement on scene?
I was not.
Who was already present?
The Memphis Police Department was already there when I arrived.
Okay. Did any other agencies get involved in the investigation?
Yes, the FBI was involved, and also the ATF.
Okay. In the third paragraph down, you reference Special Agent Chuckman. Is that one of the FBI folks that you were dealing with?
Correct. Special Agent is the lead FBI agent for them.
Okay. Again, your synopsis is pretty concise, and the arbitrator will have full ability to go and read this. I'm just trying to focus on things that I would like you to draw attention to that might need something here. So just give me one sec. So you had in this report, you have a pretty lengthy summary about your discussion with Supervisor Dennis.
Correct.
It's his involvement in your discussion is annotated quite well in here, or at least thorough, put it that way. So I'm on page 1043, and in the middle paragraph are you explaining here that when this is after the shooting took place, but when Mr. Free came back, he was notified that he may have been the intended target of this
Correct. Yes.
incident?
Where is that specifically?
In the middle the second paragraph of 1043, about halfway down, there's a sentence. He stated one of the Postal employees told him prior to the shooting Haley was looking for him, being Free. So Free was the intended target of the homicide, but he had just left. Mr. Arbitrator, I know that you said that you had a chance to look at.
Yes.
Did you go through this part? Do you know? I didn't want to go too in depth if you had.
I went through all of it, and I'm familiar with your report.
Okay.
I didn't memorize this though. I mean, and I wanted to make sure that I read what he just testified to.
Okay.
So that's why I asked you. So.
Right, but you had read that, we understood kind of how the incident went down?
Yes.
Okay, that's what just want to make sure you had a general understanding how the incident went down.
But by all means, put on your case. And if you want to go through it again, that's fine with me. We got till 5 o'clock in the morning. They took enough time, and I took enough time last time, so we're gonna give you that option as well.
Okay. So in your report, does it suggest that, was Lee normally assigned, he was the shooter, was Mr. Haley normally assigned to East Lamar?
No, his home station was Mendenhall Station.
Okay,
Of course, CCAs, I mean, they move around based upon the need of, the Postal Service.
okay,
So if they need some help at a different station, they send them there. So he moved around to several stations, including East Lamar, but Mendenhall Station was his home station.
okay. And Mr. Winfrey will be testifying, and he can go over a lot of the details here that you're stating, so I'll cover that through him. So there was a camera system in the facility,
Yes.
and you give a synopsis of what that provided or what that showed, but it did not show the actual homicides themselves, just the suicide? Or did it even show the suicide?
It showed the suicide, not the homicide.
Okay. Okay, 1044 is really, and the last two paragraphs are where I'd like to focus some attention on.
Okay.
On 1044, the second paragraph from the bottom it indicates that the inspectors have begun interviews with employees. Can you just explain to the arbitrator, how did the scope of that investigation and who you interviewed?
Right. So we interviewed every employee at his home station, which is Mendenhall. And we also interviewed every employee at East Lamar where the incident occurred, just to get an understanding of what type of employee Mr. was. Now, we also conducted interviews from all the supervisors at every station he ever worked at. There again, just to get some kind of indication as to what type of employee he was. If it was anything that stood out to them about his behavior that, possibly would have indicated that he would commit such an act. During the course of our interviews, we learned that he hadn't been on long. I don't think he had completed his 90-day probationary period. He was very quiet, very introverted, didn't really socialize with other employees, is what we determined. He was just a quiet guy. And speaking with management, they told us that, he was, all intents and purposes, a model employee, other than some certain facts. They had some issues with it.
Okay.
But as far as him, being unprofessional or anything like that, he was not with customers or other employees. So they didn't have any issues with him.
Did anybody have any indications that would have been like, how did we miss that kind of thing?
No.
Okay. It also says that there were interviews with at least family members. Can you explain a little bit?
Yeah, we want to get, because, family has a different perspective. And they know him intimately.
Right.
There are two sides to people sometimes. And what he showed at work, we gather was different than what his family knew about him. So we wanted to conduct interviews with them to get an understanding of him. If there was anything about him that would have indicated to them that he would commit such acts. We learned that he had some mental health issues.
I'm going to object to that.
If you look in the next paragraph, it discusses mental health.
I'm going to object to that because there's nothing in this report saying that he talked to any individual from his family saying that he had mental health issues. There's nothing in this report to say that.
Okay, so I'm going to first, I'm going to acknowledge that the DRT file was admitted into evidence. Okay. And I'm looking at page 1044, and it says, Mr. Berry's report, right? That's still part of your report?
Yes.
It says at the last line, the narrative of one of the incident reports detailed that a family member informed responding officers that Haiti was diagnosed as paranoid schizophrenic. So your objection is not to that sentence, but what?
He's saying that he talked to a family member, then they found out that he had mental health issues. That's not in this report. If he wants to testify that after his investigation, he went and looked up some report, and the narrative of one of those incident reports detailed that, that's fine. But if he's going to sit here and say something outside of this report, then I'm going to object to it. There's nothing in this report saying he talked to anybody named, any family member named that said this man had issues with his health, mental health.
Do you have a response?
Well, Mr. Arbitrator, if you look at the date of this document, it's 10/13, the day after the incident. This is the initial report. It's not the final report. That is still pending. So there's going to be, and until that, I would argue, and I've had the discussion prior to this hearing, that I think might be premature that this hearing is actually, if the case is going to turn on the shooting, that until we get a final report that might shed light on some of this information, I'm not sure it's proper to, but we don't have that yet, and it's going to be a while, and we'll explain that as I continue my examination, when we can expect that final report. But as far as this,
Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to confine your testimony, okay, to what's contained in this report.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean that you have to, Mr. Newman, just read your report. You can give your impressions and your understandings and, things that was the basis for writing this report. But if it's not contained in here, and you hear the arguments, and you seem like you're probably a smarter guy than all the rest of us here, so with the number of positions you've had, so you hear what they're saying, so just kind of stay away from that area.
okay. So in the course of in the investigation, you did speak with the family members, and I think you said all co-workers and all managers and supervisors that work with them.
Yes.
Okay. And in any of those discussions, did anything come out? Well, you already addressed the work issues. So let's look at the next paragraph. And can you just explain to the arbitrator what this paragraph is telling us, maybe?
That's the last paragraph?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so another thing that I did was I checked a local law enforcement database that contains local police reports because I wanted to see if he had any encounters with local law enforcement. And I came across a couple of incident reports where he was what MPD terms as emergency committed.
Okay.
That means that they took him to a mental health facility for his own protection and for the protection of others because he was having some type of mental health crisis. And And that's what this report is detailed. The last paragraph is detailed.
Okay. Is an incident report the same as a criminal conviction?
No,
So when we do our hiring, we do background checks.
correct.
Do we check for incident reports or do we check for convictions?
Check for convictions, not incident reports.
So
So when he was, when an incident report was filed for his emergency commitments, it's not an arrest, it's not a conviction or anything, so it's not going to show up in a criminal history.
Okay. And it was in those reports that you discovered the family member quoting about paranoid schizophrenia?
Correct.
All right, I want to make sure that I'm clear on this. You're saying that we look, I think you used the term we look for convictions, not incident reports, right?
You know, I think when the CIS conducts their background investigations, I think what they pull is just a criminal history report.
Right.
So that's not going to contain every encounter with law enforcement. It's not going to have, you
No,
know,
it may have the arrest.
it's going to have an arrest, correct. You know, if he's arrested and convicted, that would
Right.
be there. But just an encounter like I was explaining earlier,
So-
that's not going to be there.
So if I were to apply for a job tomorrow, turn in an application, somebody looks at it, is it the postal inspector's office that does that? Or is it somebody, is it a supervisor that looks at it?
No, all the background checks are conducted at a facility here called the CIS. I forgot what the acronym stands for. It's a service center, and they conduct background checks for every postal employee throughout the country. So they do it there.
Okay. So there's a local facility, there's a facility here locally in Memphis
Correct.
that does it for the
Entire
entire
country.
nation.
Correct.
Okay. And does anybody know that acronym? It's SI,
SC. I know service center is SC. I can't remember what the first.
and do you know where that goes to after they do it, the background check?
I'm not familiar with their process. No.
Does it go to the supervisors?
Like I said, I'm not familiar with their process.
HR gets it. HR,
HR within,
Postal Service.
okay, let's narrow that down so I understand. HR within the installation,
The
HR in Washington DC?
District, at the district level.
Okay.
Goes to the district HR manager.
And do but you wouldn't even have an understanding if any supervisor would receive that information?
I'm sure at some point they do.
But that's just a guess.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not familiar with their
There's no right
process.
or wrong answer. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to catch you.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not familiar with their process as far as where it goes once they, I don't know all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. If you would, just for a second, can you go to page 53, 54, and 55? Actually, the whole document is 53 to 58. No, 53 to 60.
That's 153.
Okay.
Okay,
1053?
No, just 53.
Oh, okay.
that's awesome.
What?
53 to 60.
60?
Right. 53 to 60. Okay. Greg, I'm not sure if you've seen this before. This is the NACI check. Mr. Haley, have you seen this before?
I have not.
Okay. So this is, when they do the backgrounds, this is the report that comes out that does the history. And I'd just like to flip forward to page 55.
Okay.
And in the middle of that page, under the criminal and offense history for where Mr. Lee lived, was there any records that were found in this background check?
No.
And the NACI check, that's what they do when they hire on?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That's all I have for that document. And I may have spoken for you a minute ago, Greg, but was I correct? I was looking at the bottom of the page, and actually, if you go to the front of this, it should have a date on it. This is dated October 13th, is it not?
That is correct.
Okay, and so this is an initial report right after the incident happens that you get out and issue?
Right, because we have so many days that we have to complete this.
Okay.
It's like 7 days.
Okay. So you did mention that FBI was involved in this investigation. Are they still involved in the investigation?
Yes.
Do we know when we can expect the final report, maybe?
Initially, they told us hopefully by the end of the calendar year.
Okay.
And that's contingent upon other things that they're working on, so it's possibly pushed back to next year, to be honest with you.
Okay. And
Is the FBI taking the lead on this?
No, we are.
So, but you gotta have their final report before you make your final report?
We requested that they conduct a behavioral analysis on Haley for us.
Okay.
So that's what we're waiting on.
But short of specific items, and I don't want you to disclose your investigation or your tactics, you know. But short of specific items you may ask ATF or the FBI, you could turn in a report now. You're done with what you've got to do.
Yeah, I could turn in a preliminary report to our management up in headquarters, which we have done.
Okay.
But it's not a final report because it doesn't include all the reports, such as autopsy reports. You know, we have to have all of that.
The autopsies aren't back yet?
No.
All right.
So, going back to the last paragraph of, well, so FBI is doing some sort of behavior analysis, that's what we're waiting on? Okay. Would that be in part because of that last paragraph, what was it disclosed there about the?
I'm going to object. We're getting way off base here. I understand that you asked a question, you answered it, so I'm not going to object to your question, but
You can, but
we're getting way off base here as far as these 4 pages. You know, it's been 9 months or 8 months since the shooting, and now we're going to get in here and testify to things that I cannot prove. I don't know if the FBI is involved or not. I'm going to have to take his word for it because he's under oath, but we're getting way off base here as far as what this man's testimony should be, as far as I'm concerned. You know, it's been 8 months. You know, I have no report. And now we're going to sit here and talk about a report that's pending. What's in the report? Psychological evaluation.
what was your question again?
I was just saying, would it be fair to say that the behavior analysis will be in relation to that last paragraph about his condition? Or would that be a focus of the?
Well, how can I disprove that? How can I possibly disprove what he's saying? I can't, because it's not in this report.
Okay. I'll withdraw the question.
Well, I'm hesitating, I appreciate it if you want to withdraw it. But I did satisfy myself as to what I wanted to, okay?
Yes, sir.
So, let's try to stay within, I mean, I can kind of understand what he's saying, how does he know whether to accept or reject a report that's not here? That he doesn't even have, access to yet, right? Because it's not prepared.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Okay. I think that's all I have. Corey?
Where is the Memphis field office for the postal inspectors at?
161 East G. Patterson Avenue, here in Memphis.
It's not in this building?
No.
Okay. On page 1040, it's your report. The incident happened on October 12th. You went and investigated the incident, you did some other things, and this report was typed up and sent in the next day, October the 13th, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, let's go to page 1041. And you answered some of my questions already about this report. So you went to the scene and you interviewed all the employees at the scene.
We interviewed every employee that was there at the post office at the time.
Okay. But none of those interviews made it into this initial report, correct?
No.
The only one that made it into this report was Supervisor Winfrey, is that right?
Yes.
You interviewed family members,
Yes.
so you say,
Yes.
is that right?
Yeah.
None of those family members made it in this report either, did they?
No.
So the only one that we gave access, the only one that you put into this report, given basically carte blanche, whatever he wanted to say, was Mr. Winfrey, the supervisor, is that correct?
I wouldn't say that. You have to understand this right here. So, I personally interviewed Mr. Winfrey along with Special Agent Irvin. That's why his interview is in here. You have to understand we had inspectors and other agents from all over the country assisting with this investigation. They're the ones that knocked out the bulk of the interviews with the employees and family members. So that's why what you see in this report from Winfrey is based upon my interview with him. It's a preliminary report just to get it done and get it in. So that's why you see Mr. Winfrey's interview in this report. At that time, I didn't have every family member. The interviews weren't conducted. Every employee, it was conducted at that time. So that's why you see Winfrey in here.
So Winfrey's the only one that made it in your report as far as a history of the gentleman that did the shooting. Winfrey's the only one that made it in your report, correct? Let's go to 1043. On the third paragraph down, stated Winfrey described as a quiet individual who kept to himself. He said he didn't recall Dortch or Wilson ever reprimanding Haley. But Mr. Winfrey did reprimand Haley, is that right?
When you say reprimand,
Well, you wrote down, he said he didn't recall Dortch or Wilson ever reprimanding Haley. But Mr. Winfrey did tell you that he did personally reprimand Haley, right?
I think he corrected him on a certain issue that he was having.
So he told you that he reprimanded. That was your words. He reprimanded Haley, is that correct? I'll take you to it. 1042. It's the first paragraph on the page. About halfway down, you see at 12 p.m. He stated, I'm going to go after that. He stated when Haley arrived back to the post office, he verbally reprimanded him for leaving the DPS mail. So Mr. Winfrey did acknowledge that he did verbally reprimand Mr. Haley. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to the next page. 1044.
Okay.
The top paragraph, we'll start that second sentence. Says the video footage depicted Haley throw down his cell phone next to the west wall and walk towards the south side of the facility where he briefly encountered another postal employee, possibly Eddie Williams. Did you talk to Eddie Williams?
I didn't personally, but another investigator did.
Okay. But Eddie Williams didn't make it into this report either, did he?
No.
Okay. You testified earlier when Mr. Conklin was talking to you that you have turned in a report since this report. Is that right?
My boss forwarded up a preliminary report to our headquarters.
So that would be right? There's another report besides this report?
There is a preliminary report, correct?
Okay. Do you know who has access to that report?
I don't know.
The last paragraph. Inspector Berry, that's you, conducted research is a local law enforcement database and located 2 MPD incident reports from 2013 and 2016 involving Haley. Both incident reports state that Haley was placed under emergency commitment and taken to a local health facility for mental evaluation. In both instances, had attempted to harm himself. Neither one of those reports made it into this report either, did they?
No.
The narrative, I'm going to continue on. The narrative of one of the incident reports detailed that a family member informed responding officers that he was diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic. Do you have anything from any family member that made it into your report substantiating that sentence right there?
No.
Do you have anything from any doctor substantiating anything about Mr. Haley having any mental disability?
Not in this report,
None of this report. Why would you put that in there then, if it's unsubstantiated? Why would you feel the need to put that in a report,
no.
just a preliminary report, something that's completely unfounded?
It's not unfounded. It's in MPD's incident.
Is it in here that it's founded?
It's in MPD's incident report in the narrative of their report.
Is that in
it's
here?
not
Hey,
unsubstantiated.
hang on, buddy, finish his answer.
Okay. Is that in
What
here?
I put in this report was what was in MPD's incident report, the narrative of their report.
Okay.
That's not that's true. It's in the narrative of their report, so it's in here.
I didn't see it. Can you show me where that report's at?
The report itself is not attached to this.
Okay. Why would you put something in this report completely unsubstantiated about Mr. Haley? What benefit would that be to this report?
Based upon the nature of what happened, it's important, given the type of investigation. That's why it's
But it's completely unsubstantiated, is what I'm saying. So you put nothing in this report to substantiate what you wrote as far as him being a paranoid schizophrenic.
you feel it's unsubstantiated. I don't.
So you believe that based off this report, you've proven that he's a paranoid schizophrenic.
I didn't say that. I said what was in
That's
there.
all I have.
The narrative of the
Thank you, sir.
incident report is what I put in here. If that's what the officers were told, that's what they were told. And that's what I put in here.
You were asked if you had any medical evidence from a doctor, and you said not in the report. Do you have evidence supporting that?
Yes.
Thank you. Nothing further.
I want to see it. I want to see that.
It's in the final report. That's what I'm saying.
I wanna
This is
see that
premature.
in this report. That's what we go by. I want to see that, Mr. Arbitrator, in this report.
That was.
You're not saying that anything in that report on page 1040 to 1044 is something that you would rely upon as an absolute certainty that you would go to court on.
Correct. The only thing I put in here is
Yes.
what.
Just your preliminary investigation.
Correct.
So if I told you Bigfoot was running up and down the road at the time of the shooting, you would put that in there too.
I would have put it in there.
It may or may not be true.
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Arbitrator, as this is just a preliminary report, to follow that up, I think that it's important that you know, and that's why I think there should be a little leeway, since we don't have, that he can just confirm if there's something on that. That diagnosis is confirmed. Then if this becomes an issue, then I would seek that, since the union is challenging it, let's get that preliminary. Is that addressed in the preliminary report?
Yes, it is. Now, the preliminary report, like I said, I don't know who has access to it, because what happens is our headquarters waits for the final report. They redact. And another thing you have to realize is that a lot of information that's in there is protected by the grand jury. So they go through and they redact certain things before they turn it over to the Postal Service.
Right. Right.
So they're not going to hand over our preliminary report because it hasn't been redacted. There's a lot of grand jury material in there. So they're not going to, they're not gonna turn over the preliminary report to the Postal Service. It hasn't been redacted. It's not the final report.
Well, look, we kind of got to go with what we got. And we have a DRT case file that was admitted into evidence, right? Your report on page 1040 to 1044 was admitted into evidence because it was contained in the case file. Your testimony has been important here today because you clarified different parts of what that means within your report. You can testify as to your, or I should say, he can testify as to his understandings, you know, as a postal inspector. Obviously, he's an expert investigator, you know. And by the way, if there's any question as to that, I'm going to declare it right now, sui sponte, that you're expert in investigations, okay? He can testify along those lines of what went into his investigation, right? But I doubt that we can extend that to say, and I doubt that the witness would want to, for us to extend that, to say he's an expert in determining whether or not someone's a paranoid schizophrenic based upon information he receives, right? Am I right with that? If so, you can ask him, are you aware of a medical report that says A, B, C, D? Was that part of your investigation? Right? But I think I would tend to agree that we should keep out any information once you draw conclusions.
Yes, sir. Okay. Okay. I can do that.
Now, what value that has, I don't know. It's your case, but if you want to explore that a little bit, I'll give you a little bit of leeway.
Okay. Did your investigation obtain the medical records of Mr. Haley?
Yes.
Did the medical records support the findings that you that were alleged in the MPD?
No.
Okay.
Take your time. It's difficult. I'd have to do the same thing if I were questioning.
Without you making a judgment, did the medical records, was there a diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia in the medical records from a physician?
I'm going to object to that. I know you're giving your opinion, but if I can't see it, if I can't look at it, I'm going to object to it.
Well, at least let it go at face value.
This is all I have right here.
Okay, but look. The entire, I want both y'all to understand, okay? The entire report is based upon information that Mr. Newberry collected from others, right? There are certain things contained in there that may even suggest that it's conclusive, right? The way he writes his report in his particular manner. I understand what you're saying, but that does not necessarily mean that it's being weighed as conclusive, right? Y'all understand what I'm getting at?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can ask the question, right? And he can say, yeah, there was information out there, but the trier of fact, me, is going to weigh that, right? I'm going to weigh that. I don't have a report to conclude, right? So I don't know what value it has for your case, but I'm going to allow him for that purpose to say, yes, that this initial report, one day later, included knowledge of, is that right? Some medical record that was out there, okay? Are you a doctor?
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. did we just not answer the question I was asking, and maybe we did or didn't? So the medical reports that you had, what you saw in the reports was a clinical diagnosis of some sort of paranoid schizophrenia?
I'm gonna object to that. That's not what he wrote down here.
I know.
He wrote down here,
You can cross-examine him on that, I'm gonna do that, go ahead,
That's all I have.
go ahead.
go to 1044. On the last paragraph, did you say that a medical doctor said that he had paranoid schizophrenic, or that a family member stated he had paranoid schizophrenia?
Family member.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay, well, I want to clear that up. And there was a lot of stuff going on here, Mr. Leary, and none of us wants to be down there on that end of the table, okay? You're doing a good job, but I want to clear it up. When you said that you saw or you knew of medical records out there, that doesn't change with his question, right? You still would, your answer's still the same.
Correct.
Okay. So it's that plus what he said.
Correct.
Okay. Is the medical records contained in your report?
Yes.
It's specifically referenced that I looked at medical records and it, okay.
Yes.
Back to your report.
Nothing further.
Anything further? Anything further? All right. Thank you very much. Your excuse.
All right. So there you have it, the postal inspectors. You saw that it got kind of tumultuous there a little bit. Kind of got heated. I'm always going to protect the union, but I'm more importantly I'm going to protect the carrier. Even though what this carrier did was terrible, heinous, anything you can say, it's that. I mean, he took the life of two innocent people. They got ready for work just like you did. Came into work that day and he took their life for no reason, and then took his own. So 3 families absolutely shattered because of what he did. Right? It's appalling. I'm still going to protect him. And you saw me go after them, trying to say that this gentleman had mental issues, mental health issues. Even though he's deceased, I'm going to protect him as much as I can because he was a brother of mine. And so that's what I did when I took exception to him putting in the report something completely unfounded, like this guy had mental issues. And it was put in the report solely for the purpose to persuade or sway someone that's looking at it. He had no business putting that in a report. No business. It was completely unfounded. And I took exception to that, as you could tell. But that was very heated inside there. The postal inspector did not like me at all. And you could tell by his posture when I was questioning him, he did not like me. And I don't give a damn, right? Because I don't like them either. But anyway, that's the first episode of Memphis. I hope you enjoyed that. And we'll do the second episode next Sunday, and a couple of witnesses there. They won't be as long as this one. And then the formal A is forever long. He's about 2-something hours. So that'll be maybe the 4th episode. Then we'll do my closing. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think about that. And we'll do it again next Sunday. Y'all have a fantastic week. I love each and every one of you. Again, you don't have to agree with me. I still love you. Those people that said that about me on Facebook, I love you still. And if something happened to you, baby, I'd be the first one in line to kick somebody's ass for you. And that's just how I am. I don't get my feelings hurt. I have no pride. And I'm here about that business and the business of protecting you. And that's what it's all about. So you can say whatever you want to about me. Just know that when shit hits the fan, baby, I'll be first one in line. All right. Y'all take care of yourselves. Have a great week. And I love y'all very much. All right. Bye.